What's up everybody? Welcome back to Shield Outdoors. This is going to be a seminar by Scott Martin, and he talks all about the things he does when he first gets to a body of water and he's preparing for a tournament. Now, whether you're a tournament fisherman or not, this video is going to help you go out and dominate the water every single time, even if you're just going out on a Saturday morning with your buddies and you're just out there trying to catch some fish. He talks about what he does when he gets to a body of water, how he studies a body of water, and the things he does to prepare days in advance before ever going out on the water, and then also some stuff for when you're actually out there throwing a line. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, check out our Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for checking out the video. Enjoy.
But tournament fishing, right? How to practice for a tournament. What do you do? How do you dissect the lake? How do you prepare for going to the event? And that process for me, which may be completely different than what another angler might say. Might be completely different, but I am just going to break it down on what I do, kind of step by step, and hopefully it'll help you. You know, first of all, whenever I look at a schedule and I see that there's a lake on the schedule, I try to do as much research as I can beforehand. I don't try to put a lot of weight on what that lake was like the year before, or maybe when I had fished it in the past. Because most of the time, as you well know, we go to the same lake roughly the same time of year, and it's completely different weather. But completely different weather doesn't mean it's just different weather while you're there. That completely different weather could have been the whole month prior, being a lot colder or a lot warmer or a lot less rain or a lot more rain. So my point is, don't go to these tournaments that you fished over and over again and say to yourself, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go to Kentucky Lake and I'm going to do this. Or hey, I'm going to go to Monroe Lake and I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to do whatever. Try to treat every time you go to those lakes as a new experience in a way. Now, if you're fishing it every single weekend, right, what I'm saying is not necessarily what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you got the one time a year you're going to go to Kentucky Lake and fish a big tournament. Or for me, I'm going to go to Lake Seminole, you know, once every 4 or 5 years. Or I'm going to go to Beaver Lake or Table Rock, whatever it may be. I try to put all that history out the window a little bit. Now, I'll break it down with patterns, of course. You know, that time of the year, these particular lakes, here's several different patterns that work and win tournaments. Obviously, I'm going to focus on those things. But here's the first thing I do. I usually will look at the schedule. I will then go back and look at the current weather, and I'll follow the weather. Actually, on my weather app on my phone, you can save destinations, and so I have the whole tournament season on my phone. So right now I can pull up and I can tell you that the weather for the next 15 days at Lake Seminole is going to be XYZ. And the weather at the next tournament in Cherokee is going to be XYZ. And I can kind of get a feel for it. And so throughout the year, I'm constantly checking it and just getting a feel. And I try to make in my mind, the work weeks away from a tournament, I try to do in my mind like, okay, the weather's warm right now. What would I be doing if I was there? And I kind of play it out of my mind just a little bit. And then as the tournament gets closer, I just keep doing that. Okay, so that's my little pre-practicing. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my iPad out, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on Google Maps. I laid in bed last night, went to bed with this laying beside me, looking at Google Maps. I woke up this morning looking at Google Maps at Lake Seminole. Zooming around the lake, looking at things, dropping pins of what looks interesting. And you know what that does for me? It not only shows me some really good places that I can fish, but on lakes that I'm not that familiar with, or maybe lakes that I've never been to before, spending time on this satellite makes you feel like you've been there when you first get there the first day of practice. It gives you that familiarity feeling, like, okay, you know what the lake sort of looks like based on how many docks or trees or bare banks or whatever's going on. So it gives you a nice understanding of how the lake feels. Because before I used to do that, I would pull up to a lake that I've never been to before, and the first day of practice, I'm overwhelmed a little bit. I'm kind of taking it all in. I'm riding around and like, oh wow, I didn't know there was this many trees on the lake. And oh wow, I didn't know these creeks were that big. And oh wow, I didn't know there wasn't docks on this side of the lake, or there is a lot of docks on that side of the lake. But when I spent all that time on Google Earth, looking at the creeks, looking at all the areas of the lake, I feel like I know where things are in a way. I feel like it's like not wasting any gas, right? You don't have to spend all that time and money. So I'll spend time on Google Maps and Google Earth and the apps that Garmin has. I'm gonna lock it in here. That's the last thing I looked at. I dropped the pin right there. As long as there's no guys fishing Seminole in the crowd. That was just me this morning. I was marking a little sandbar right there in front of a hole, and I dropped the pin, and it gave the waypoint. And I saved it, and I actually texted it to myself on my phone. And so then I'll go to my unit, and I'll punch it in, and that's the spot. This iPad's big enough, I actually put a mount. I don't know if you saw it on my boat in the last video, but I've got a mount on my boat now on my console, and I can take this in the boat with me. And as I'm driving around, I'm looking at the satellite imagery of that exact lake too, so I can see little subtle differences. I've caught a lot of fish by doing this, by practicing on your satellite maps. What I did at Cumberland, when I won Cumberland a couple years ago, is once I figured out the pattern, I also did it at Rayburn this year, and I did it at Toho that past tournament. Once I figure out a pattern, I establish a pattern like creek channel turns or long clay points or whatever. Then I will go on my Google Earth on my laptop and I'll literally drop a whole bunch of pins. And then Garmin has a program where I can convert it from Google Earth, dump it right into my computer, and then convert it right to my Garmin and put the chip right in my unit, and it uploads the waypoints. And I literally, there's like a lot of mornings, tournament mornings, I am literally sitting at the table, or practice days, for 30 minutes, drinking a cup of coffee. It's fresh in the morning, I'm eager to go, I'm not tired, and I'm dropping in stuff that I want to check out. And I run Cumberland because of it, because I was looking for isolated trees in long pockets that had a lot of rocky bank to it. So I found rocky bank pockets that had isolated trees, and I would waypoint those exact trees. The water came up, you couldn't see the trees anymore during the tournament, but I knew the trees there from satellite imagery. You can also go back and Google Earth on your laptop and go back several years, and you can look at different water levels of that lake. So you can see where they've taken satellite imagery of that lake when the water was 10 foot low or 20 foot high. And next thing you know, you're getting a good understanding of what muddies up, you get where I'm going. So that's what I do. I spend a lot of time looking at my maps, kind of mentally preparing for what I'm going to get into there at the tournament. Now, when I get to the event, I've got all my stuff set. I'm going to rig up my rods. I like to stay very organized, even though you might not think I'm organized. But I like to get my boat and say, dude, it's a mess. But I feel like it's organized. But you have to know where your stuff is. I prepare. Now, I'm in the position to have a lot of rods and reels, and I know not everyone can have 10 or 15 rods on the deck of the boat. I get it. I started just like you guys. But I have as many rods as I can get up there for the techniques that I might be using for that event. My A and B stuff, my C stuff, my maybe so stuff. So I'm going to have everything from drop shots to flipping sticks and everything. So I'm going to launch my boat on day one of practice. I'm going to have, obviously, somewhat of an idea of what I wanted to do. I'm going to start riding around. But on day one of practice, I don't spend a lot of time anywhere. Even if I'm catching them or starting to figure something out, I'll keep moving. I want to sample as much of that area of the lake as possible. Let me back up just a minute. Area of the lake. I break lakes down in sections, okay? That's the first thing I do. I say to myself, where do I think the tournament, where do I think I can win the tournament? What area of the lake do I think I can win before I get out there? And let's say it's just a normal lake. I'm going to break it down in thirds. North part of the lake, center part of the lake, south part of the lake. Day one, I'm going to say I'm going to go up to the north end and I'm going to go investigate all that. Day two, I might go down to the south end and sample a little bit in the middle as well. And then on day 3 of practice, I'm going to go back to where I think I've got the best opportunity and try to expand what I have found over the previous 2 days. So day 3 is kind of my fine-tuned day. If anybody ever calls me on practice day, my friends and guys that we all kind of chit-chat with, I'm never any help on day 1 of practice. Because day 1, it's like I don't really know what I found. I don't really even try to find a whole lot of, I don't know how to put it. I don't try to find the rock solid spot. I just sample, right? I check this, I catch a few fish. I check this, I don't catch a few fish. I keep moving around the lake and just try to stay open-minded. I have 15 rods on the deck of my boat. If I'm looking for flipping fish and I drive by a point that the wind's blowing in on, I'm going to stop and fish it because I've got 15 rods on the deck of my boat. I'm going to pick up a spinnerbait and I'm going to burn a spinnerbait across the point. And as I go around the point, I see a dock. I'm going to pick up a shaky head. I'm going to skip a shaky head under the dock. And then I'm going to pull the trolling motor up and go back to flipping. But I just sample things throughout the day. Because here's how I always explain to people. I've said it in my videos. And this will help you guys if you really grasp what I'm getting.
There you are.
Practice is that's all it is practice. You're trying to give yourself a clue and you're trying to give yourself confidence. You're trying to give yourself a clue and confidence in a couple areas or a technique on the lake to fish. It only takes, I've said this before, it only takes 5 minutes to find the winning spot. Every tournament that I've ever really found a good area or discovered a really good pattern, it took me 5 minutes to figure that out. There's a 5-minute window, think about it, there's a 5-minute window in the course of them 10 or 11 or 12 hours on the water where something happens, a cast I make, a spot I stop on, a decision I make, whatever, that's just a few minutes in time that all of a sudden I go, okay, I just figured something out. So the reason I tell you that is I know a lot of guys that get stressed out because all day they're like, I'm not catching them, I'm not catching them, I'm not catching them all day. I'm like, dude, just chill. My practices are not very good, in my opinion. I know guys that go out and just catch them the first place they go to and they're just on, they win practice, those guys. They win practice. They never win the tournament, they win practice. But I am like, I'm just looking for that moment, so I'm patient throughout the day. Let me also say this. Finding spots and areas and techniques to use and fish is just as important as eliminating spots, lures, and techniques to fish. If you catch them everywhere on everything, what are you going to do for the tournament? Right? If you catch them here, there, everywhere, every rod, that's not good. Because that means everybody's going to catch them, and it's just weird. So that's not good. Eliminate water. I eliminate water. I don't know if a lot of guys do what I'm telling you. Eliminate water. If I am in an area I'm just using the north end of A Lake for an example. I'm up on the north end of A Lake and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm starting to kind of get that feeling. I'm developing a few little things that I'm kind of like, okay, I see potential here. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, down there on the south end of the lake, way up that creek, man, those guys, I know that guys have won tournaments over the years, flipping jigs in that muddy water down by the spillway or whatever. And it's distracting, right? You've been there. It's like the whole time you're fishing in the tournament, you're like, God, I wonder if they're killing them down there. I wonder if I should have went down there to the south end and checked that. The minute you don't get bit on your north stuff, like in the tournament, you start second guessing yourself. And you're starting thinking about other places and other things. Like, I didn't check that. Man, I don't know about that spot. So you know what I do on day 2 of practice? I try to eliminate a few things. I'll make a Hail Mary run down to some weird thing and go down there really hoping I don't catch them. And not caring if someone else is. Because I don't care if you go catch them there. Because who's got to catch them to do good in the tournament? I do. So if I go down to the south of the lake by the spillway and put jigs down there in the muddy water and I just don't catch them and I don't like it and my confidence level's at a 0, good. Good luck to you when you go up there. If you catch them, great. But that means I can focus on what I'm doing up on the north end. And then I can keep developing other things to catch them on and keep expanding my water and my focus on where I am planning on fishing. eliminate those distractions, basically is what it is, right? Does that make sense? You know, techniques that you're worried about, go try them for a little while. Get them out of your system. And again, don't worry that someone else might catch them on it. Because that doesn't mean anything. It's you that's got to catch them. I'll break the lakes down like that. North end, south end, middle, and then I'll go back on day 3 and kind of expand, you know, what I'm doing. The other thing is when I'm looking for fish, people always ask me, how long do you stay on a spot when you find a spot in practice? Do you sit there and catch a whole bunch of them? Like, what, you know, how long do you stay? How long do you stay in a tournament? Like, what do you do? And there's not really an answer for exactly how long you stay. I stay just as long as I need to say to myself, I like this area, I like this spot, right? I'm going to shake a lot of fish off. My dad does not know what shaking fish off means. If you've seen some videos that we've done before, and I'm begging him to shake them off, and he will not shake them off. He sets a hook. When we were kids, or when I was a kid, we would fish tournaments occasionally in the lake, and I would go out and practice. I was probably 19, 20 years old, and so I went out and practiced, and I found this really good area on the lake, caught some nice fish. I called my dad, and I said, hey, I caught them really, really good down in South Bay on that reed line down there. I said, but there's no boats on it. Don't go near it. Like, they're there. You don't want anybody seeing it, so that's a good deal. Oh, that's good. That's good. No, don't go there. Oh, yeah, okay. So later on, I get home, and he's like, yeah. I went over and checked that deal there, by the south end of the lake. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're really in there. You're right. I'm like, what do you mean I'm right? Oh yeah. Well, I went down there for a little bit, and I caught like a 6 and a 5, and I had like a 7-pounder and jumped off the boat. It was big. And I'm like, why would you do that? Because we're not going to catch those fish you just caught and jumped off of the boat. And people are going to see you there. So why? So I do not tell him where I'm catching fish, because he will go and sore mouth them all. And then he wonders why. He goes back to these tournaments lately and he's like, ah man, I don't know what happened, you know. I caught like 5 fish under that dock, out of that brush pile, out of that lay down. I'm like, yeah, really. So I'm not going to catch a lot of them. I might catch a few to get confidence, right? Confidence is power. And stay versatile out there on the water, guys. Don't spend a lot of time. Don't spend a lot of time being hard-headed. You know, making something, trying to make a pattern work. I think one of my strengths, and I've said this to people over the years, is I'm not the best at every technique, but I've gotten pretty good at most of them. If you said just go throw a drop shot, I feel confident enough that I can go throw a drop shot. Shaky head, deep diving crankbait, whatever. I feel very versatile. Back when my dad fished back on the tour, back in years and years ago, and when I grew up around it years ago, and a lot of you guys would agree, you know, you had your Denny Browers and your David Fritz, and you had your Jimmy Houstons and your Hank Parkers, and Jimmy was known for a spinnerbait, Denny was known for flipping a jig, and David Fritz was known for going up and throwing crankbaits. And that worked great back then because technology and the mapping wasn't all that great. And so people kind of settled into their comfort zone back then. But now with the way technology is, depth finders and maps and satellite imagery, there's so much more information out there for you to gather on how to catch fish on these bodies of water that being just stuck to one technique will not serve you well over the course of a year fishing a circuit around your home state. You got to be versatile. If you can become versatile, it's going to help you on those days that you got to pick that drop shot up, or the days that you need to pick up a spinnerbait and roll with it. And being able to switch up on your gears like that will build your confidence on making decisions, and it will, over time, you teach yourself how to make those good decisions. So versatility is king. If you have a lure or a technique you're not comfortable with or that you don't like, if you don't like one, then that's not the right attitude. If you don't like a technique, then take that technique you don't like and go somewhere to do that technique or that fish with that particular lure and figure out how to catch fish, whether it's in a farm pond whether it's at the, wherever. Just go fish with that technique and figure out how to get bit on it. It will give you, I remember as a kid growing up on Okeechobee. Okeechobee's great for spinnerbaits, a lot of grass. And as a kid, at 14 and 15 and 16 years old, I spent a lot of time on the lake. I had a little boat, a little Blastron, and I'd go out there and I'd fish. Started fishing tournaments at 14, but I was in my comfort zone. I would throw a worm. I mean, everybody loves throwing a Texas rig worm. And I would go on Okeechobee and throw a Texas rig worm out. And I'd catch a lot of fish. And I would talk to people and guides and other friends around that would say, oh, the spinnerbait bite was really good today. It was windy, we caught a lot on spinnerbait. And I would throw a spinnerbait occasionally and never catch them that good. Like I would go out and I'd throw the spinnerbait and for 10 or 15 minutes and I'd put it up. I'd be like, I didn't believe in it. I'd never really caught that many fish on it. It was just weird. And the lake is a good spinnerbait lake. So I know it's not any reason but mine. It's in my head. So I go down to the Everglades, to these canals south of Clewiston, where you can literally catch 100 bass a day down there. And it's a great place to just take whatever lure you want to take and catch fish on them. I'm going to go down there with a spinnerbait. So I go down there and I catch like 50 or 60 bass on a spinnerbait that day. And I'm loving it. Like, all of a sudden, I like a spinnerbait. So I go back to Okeechobee the next week, launch the boat, go fishing, pick up that same spinnerbait, start chunking it around, boom, there's a fish, boom, I got another one. And I started catching fish on a spinnerbait. Now, what changed? Wasn't the way I fished it the same way. It was all in my confidence. It was all, I know it's weird, Sam, but I'm telling you, there's some weird thing about confidence and just what you're thinking about with that lure or that technique that will either hurt you or help you on catching fish. It's like if you don't believe in it, you're not going to do that good. Don't fish with stuff you don't believe in. You're wasting your time. Figure out how to get confidence. So go to some private lake, fish with those lures that you're weak on, and learn how to execute on them. In the tournament, here's another one more little thing on practice. And it's a mistake I see a lot of people make. I've got buddies still to this day that literally go out and then practice. And when they find something special, they literally say to themselves, I know what I'm doing. I'm good. I got it figured out. I know I'm going to go up to the north end and I got a couple of areas I figured it out. I'm going to come off the water early today. I'm going to get my boat rigged up. I'm going to go by the tackle shop, get a few things, extra stuff I need. Go take a nap. I'm going to go eat dinner. I mean, I'm good. I already know what I'm doing. I'm off the water early. Ha! Mission accomplished. I talk to them all the time. I've had them call me. You need anything in the tackle shop? I'm going in early today. No, dude, I don't need anything in the tackle shop. I'm on the water. I'm good. You're going in? Yeah, I'm killing them. I already got it figured out. I know what I'm doing in the tournament. Okay. Tournament starts. How'd you do? Man, I don't know, dude. I didn't catch them, man. I don't know what happened. Things changed out there. Fished out there all day. Never really got on them good. Those people have never won a tournament. Mark Pack did one time, and that's a story I can tell you in a minute, but he didn't practice but like 2 hours for the Beaver Lake tournament. We were rooming together, and he would just go in and eat lunch and go eat breakfast every 5 minutes, and it was hilarious. I called him up, he'd pretend he was practicing, he was in his car, and then I'm like, dude, and then he won the tournament. So he was like the rare occasion that he found a spot in the area that he actually was able to kind of parlay into a victory. But I'm telling you, every other time those people have not caught them. So do not get overconfident in what you found, because every tournament I've ever won, I've never won a tournament and said to myself, dude, this is about the last cast of day 4. I'm going to win this tournament. Man, I've got fish for days. I could go out tomorrow and probably keep winning the thing. I've always had to make adjustments. I've always been down to the last little bit where I didn't even win the tournament, probably where I was even planning on catching fish. I've developed something in the tournament. So do not give up. Do not go in early and go to the tackle shop and do all that stuff, guys. I'm telling you, find more fish, find more patterns, find more options, and be open to expanding those options and looking in the tournament. I practice in the tournaments too. I sample a little bit. Running down the lake and seeing a windy point and a dock past it like I was talking about in practice, I'll do the same thing in the tournament. I've got my mind made up and I'm going to another area and I might swing in and try something. That good instinct, you know? Very, very, very important. And it's a good skill to hone, and it's a good skill to work on. Fishing is hunting, right? I mean, we call it fishing, but you're really hunting a fish. You just can't see them. You're making decisions based on the weather and the time of the year and every water temperatures, everything, on where they are. So be versatile on the water, be versatile during practice, and be very versatile during the tournament itself. The other thing is, another couple little rules is, and I've done it both ways, and I would say that I'm leaning more towards catch all you can on day. If it's a multi-day tournament, put the hammer down on them pretty good. Don't go into I'm going to conserve my fish mode too early. I've seen a lot of guys do that, where they don't come in leading the tournament on day one. They're in 4th or 5th place. And then things just kind of fade. Weather changes, the fishing is not as good the next day, whatever. A lot of tournaments I've won, it's because I had a big bag on day one. Forest Wood Cup, I had 22 pounds, biggest bag of the tournament. Ended up winning the tournament, went 4 more days. But my other bags weren't 22 pounds, my other bags were 16 and 14 and 17. If I wouldn't have had 22 and I'd have had 16 or 17 on day one, I'd have finished in like 3rd place. Potomac River, I caught 22 pounds, almost 23, Potomac River. That's a big bag for there. I had like 20, and I'm thinking like, I'm gonna probably be leading the tournament with 20, and I went and expanded my water and went kind of searching for some new stuff and caught another big one, and it was 22 pounds. Ended up winning the tournament, wire to wire, but my bags after that 22 pounds worth, again, 16, 15, 18, whatever they were. Not 22. If I would have had 22 pounds the first day, wouldn't have won the tournament. So don't give up too quick. That's a mistake I think a lot of people have made. You can ride a big bag a lot farther than you think. Jacob Wheeler, when he won the Forest Wood Cup at Lanier, same thing. He went up the river on Lanier, caught 22 pounds. That seems like the magic number. Just catch 22 pounds, right? He went up the river at Lanier, caught a big bag of fish, and rode that big, heavy bag all the way to the victory. I finished 4th in that tournament. That was a neat tournament because the previous time we were at Lanier for the Forest Wood Cup, a few years before that, I wasn't good on drop shots there and fishing deep brush piles and stuff. And I went out and I just didn't get it done. I just had a bad tournament. I finished like almost last in the cup at Lanier a few years before. I go back that year and I made my mind up that I was going to fish deep and I was going to try to win the tournament with spotted bass. There were big spots in there. And I'm going to try to win the tournament with spotted bass, and I'm going to figure out how to catch it. And so all through practice, I developed my pattern. I was catching them good. I spent some time in pre-practice going up there and kind of figuring out what to look for and all that. And I ended up finishing 4th in the tournament, and I caught all spots all 4 days. And I was the highest place finisher that caught spots, all spots. Jacob caught largemouth, and a couple other guys caught largemouth. And so I beat Ayler and Brett Height, a bunch of guys that were in that same tournament. They're spotted bass drop shot experts. And I like that. Even though I didn't win the tournament, I kind of felt like, yeah, I kind of won the spotted bass tournament, you know. But it gave me confidence in that technique. And since then, I've gone on and caught a lot of fish on drop shot. Done really, really well. So that's how I practice for a tournament. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully, those tips right there will give you a little bit better insight on how to practice, and hopefully it'll help you catch some more fish. And at the end of the day, catch more fish, make more money. See you.